Hi, okay, we're starting. Today is April 19th, 2018. We will be starting this morning's work session. We have Business Automation Services here to present to us. We'll just have you introduce yourself because,
Pledge.
oh, the pledge, sorry. I always forget something. First, we'll stand for the pledge. Jim?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And Diane.
It's either the pledge or the comments before I have to miss one thing every time. Okay, so
Sure.
welcome. If you could just
Thank you.
introduce yourself and then we can start.
Yes, Robert Vitti with BAS.
Michelle Lysak, BAS.
Okay, thank you.
So we're here to talk about the planning and zoning module, okay, and answer any other questions you may have. So currently, we've been working with the
Just
town.
need to speak a little louder,
Sure.
because otherwise we can't.
Currently, we've been working with the town of Riverhead for several years now. We first implemented the building department with our IPS system, Integrated Property System. So from there, we implemented the code enforcement department, and then we have the fire inspectors now on a module.
Right, so
Okay.
that tracks the inspections also,
Correct.
which is one thing that we were lacking with code enforcement and building, and now we're able to do
Correct.
since we added that fire.
And now it's so you're integrated with 3 different departments, okay? So with our IPS system, you have the option and ability to add the planning zoning department. So what our system does, it's all parcel management. If you're on 21 Main Street, okay, it pulls up that parcel and you can see the chronological history of the parcel. So anything relative to permitting, okay, open and closed permits, code enforcement or complaint tracking. Okay, it shows everything, it's color coded, pass, fail, reasons why, okay, and then you have the fire inspections or any annual inspections, okay, so if you have to check elevators, you know, you have your 1 years, your 3 years and things
And
like
does it
that.
pops up?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, okay, so it'll pop up
Yep.
for anything that,
Yep.
whatever
And
services
and
you
it
need.
also tracks documents as correspondence from both the applicant and from the town to the applicant.
It sure does. You can scan any electronic file format into our IPS system. Furthermore, with the planning and zoning department, it's really nice. If you guys are having planning meetings, you can take the voice recording and drop that on the parcel as well. So it's a simple file, and then, you know, 6 months, 9 months later or whatnot, you know, if you need a reminder about everything, there's indicators on the parcel, and you can play back the recording from what
Can we
were
drop our
talking.
video from the meetings in there also?
Yes.
Okay.
Diane's eyes just lit up.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of capability and functionality in our system, so right now, you guys have the 3 main,
Since Catherine and I are new, maybe just do
Yeah.
a quick overview of what it is that we have and how they
Sure.
interact with each other.
sure. Well, I'll start out with, we're located in Saratoga County, okay? You can see this is our 31st year in business, okay? We started the company in 1987, and we have over 40 staff members, okay? We have our own programming department, our own support department, and IT services, and we do website design and everything. So we are now a one-stop shop for municipalities, okay? I'll just give you a quick little number in New York State. There's 932 towns in New York. We work with 800 municipalities in 6 states now. However, just for, you know, Diane's department, okay, there's 932 towns, 700 of those towns, and some of which are your neighbors.
Right.
Southold, Oyster Bay, we were at yesterday, Smithtown, they use the town clerk software, okay? So that does dog licensing, marriage licensing, tracks vital records, okay, and things like that. And it has a nice cash book module that tracks every transaction that comes into her department. And from there, when we first started the company, we started with one town, it was the town of Schodack in Rensselaer County, and from there we grew. The natural segue at that time was going into the tax departments, okay? And that's what we did. So now we have over 400 municipalities collecting taxes with us, including Smithtown, Oyster Bay, Southold, okay? And you, okay? So you guys started this year with us. But we offer a full suite of software programs. So we have software now designed for every department in a local government, okay? And that's a quick little summary of who we are and what we do type of thing.
Okay.
But this particular program, when you first started with us, we did a phased implementation, working, Jody, Lori and Terry, and we started with one department, okay, building, and then from there, that went well, then we started to phase out into the other modules. So, right now, you have the option of adding this new module, the planning and zoning module, which will integrate all four of those departments together, okay? So whomever, would have access to the system can simply pull up, those parcels and get quick access to all that information right at your fingertips.
Right, and so today we're gonna be discussing the planning and zoning, but can you also touch on the workflow program? Because that's the next thing that I think, I have my eyes on, that would
Sure.
be beneficial to the town, and how it works when it comes to coordinated review and sending out emails and just what it, I'll let you touch base on
Sure.
it, but what it essentially does is, if you need an answer from a department or from an agency, if you press the button, send to your question, it'll go to all the people that you click off that are applicable, that you're waiting for replies from. And when those replies come in, it automatically pops up, so you know you have the reply. So that's the workflow, so then you know that you're ready for the next step. But if
Right.
you could elaborate.
The workflow engine is.
Is this separate than the planning and zoning?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, why don't
Yeah.
we start with the planning and zoning
Sure.
first, and then, because the workflow overarches everything, correctly?
Yes.
Okay, so
The-
let's start,
Okay.
or do you want,
No, that's fine. The planning and zoning module, and Michelle can, show you a little bit, give you a little quick, visual of it, okay? But it tracks all of your projects in your town. So, your escrows, your bonding and things like that. So, Michelle, if you wanna just, we'll give you a quick little visual. But the nice thing is, on the tabs, okay, when you launch IPS into the system, on the top bar, you got four main tabs: your permitting, your code enforcement, complaint tracking, planning and zoning, and then your fire inspections, okay? And again, the whole database repository, whatever module, the staff is in, you can retrieve that information quickly,
and
okay?
each department has access just to their module? Or they can
No.
see everything, but they can only import into their module?
It's-
You can, we have different security features, so you guys can set it up however you want.
Okay.
So a lot of municipalities, they want, more people to have
Access.
quick access to stuff,
Well,
so.
for updating and.
Yeah, if you're updating,
Because
but
it's
then,
a
yeah,
Living document until it's always ready.
yeah, and then, you can just grant access to whomever you want, I mean, but the basis behind this system is, it's powerful and it starts
Well, I'm just
integrating
wondering if
everybody
If
together.
this land management one can also incorporate covenants, which is a very important thing that we always seem to
Absolutely can.
lose is these covenants.
Absolutely,
The,
but
the other nice thing for you guys is too, the reporting features on the system, so you can really drill down on this, and I think you and I talked about this years ago, is, even if you, just something simple as how many single-family homes are built in the month of January, and plus, you can go way out, okay, and you can toggle different things, so like, quick example, expired permits, okay? It happens everywhere, okay? All over New York State. However, now you have the ability, we're in April, mid-April right now, okay? So if you guys wanna see how many permits are gonna expire in the month of August of 2018, you can do that now.
it's
And-
a great budgeting tool.
Yeah, and then you can see now, and you can say there was 300 permits that were gonna expire, okay? You can batch print those permits with one click of the mouse, and it will print 300 letters to 300 different people, and say, "Dear Mr. and Mrs. Smith, your permit is about to expire in August, you need to come back and renew your permit," okay? So, it helps you keep the
Revenue coming in.
stream going,
And that's
things like
one of
that.
the most disturbing things that I found in going through the building department files, as you may recall, Jim, I think you were here when I started this, and that was
Yeah.
the 4 files that were in the drawer that had expired permits for over 4 years that equated to $40,000 in income that we were missing,
sitting there lost,
just because we
right.
never sent them a letter telling them their permit was expiring. And then, I also wanna congratulate you and thank you for the great job that BAS has done, because before this system came online, you couldn't track a zoning board application unless you knew the applicant's name and the date of the hearing. Nothing was filed by tax map number. Everything was filed by the owner's name at the time and when they filed the application. And that was the first step that we took, was to upload from Real Property Tax Services in the county to our system to identify each tax parcel within the town of Riverhead, so that documents could start being attached to that tax document. So I'm very excited about it, and information is a lot easier to access now since you've been here, and I want to thank you.
No, thank you
Well,
for the opportunity.
I think
It's
that's
great.
what we're trying to do, is continue
Right.
moving forward.
I like the
So-
fact that you can push one button and print out 300 letters, but I need 300 envelopes with stamps on them.
You do. You absolutely do. You do.
Oh, you want
But those stamps bring in a lot of revenue also,
Yeah.
so. But, you know, it is, Jody hit right on it. I mean, even when we went into the city of Syracuse, I mean, that was a huge project for us at the time, several years ago. But there's so many different options that we've done. When we met with the mayor, it was actually, Stephanie, way back when, but we didn't have, she wanted to have an online portal. We didn't have it, but we told her we would do it, and we did it. And now residents and contractors can communicate, you know, pay for permits online, communicate to the staff. And it's really, it's so nice that,
Seamless.
yeah, and, you know, somebody's driving down the road, they hit a pothole, they can get on their phone, they can communicate with your staff and say, hey, I just hit a pothole. We take that request and we funnel it either to the DPW, the police department, or the building department. They send out a CEO, code enforcement officer, they verify if that request is valid. Yes, the request is valid, well, guess what? The resident just keyed the data in the database for you. So it's really nice. There's a lot of options to what we've done with this program. But Syracuse has the same thing you do. They have over 200 plus users on it. You guys are a little bit smaller in that regard, however, it works for everybody, you know? So you can have as many people on the system as you want.
Will
you
we
know?
have access as board members to
Yes.
it?
Yeah, you can.
You need a username and a password, and they can
Right.
set that
It's
up for you today while you're here.
However you guys want it. I mean,
But
you should learn how to, you know, use it and, you know, we can show you all that
And
kind
the
of
other,
stuff and pull
and,
data.
and
but-
the other interesting thing that you mentioned, and I'm glad you did, but we set out to do initially, was to be able to open it up to the public. And what some municipalities do is they charge an annual subscription fee to the website where they have their own username and login. And, you know, some of the documents, of course, are security, because they're interoffice memos and things of that nature that they wouldn't have access to. But you can charge a subscription for lawyers, for title companies, for other people that are looking for information, and they'll pay an annual fee in order to be able to access it from their desk in their
I'll
office.
put the web port, there's a flyer on
portal.
the back. Okay, so you guys can have that for later on. But the nice thing is about this is, you know, you guys can add at your own leisure, okay? So we have municipalities that start with 1 or 2 modules, and as the years go on, they see the value of the system and the benefit on what it'll bring. And that's when they start adding more. And that's what we've done here, you know, phased implementation. And then from there, you know, with Lori in the tax department, that went extremely well this year. And we're very proud of that. And I actually have a couple people over there right now. I brought them with me just to pop in and say, hi, how you doing, and help out.
And it's really saved a lot of
Yeah.
time, and it's saved a lot of errors, because as you know, when you're adding up checks that are in front of you, you could be off by a penny, and then trying to find that penny and all those checks is a very tortuous task. So that it's cleared all that up, because the checks are automatically entered into the system, and if there's something off, then it'll send an indication. I also want to thank you for holding your price, because we've had a few false starts on
We have, yeah.
this process where there was a resolution to approve moving forward, and then it was pulled back, and then we finally got you in a couple of years
Yeah.
ago. And I want to thank you for holding your price on that
Oh,
as
you're
well.
welcome. Thank you. So do you want to show a little bit, Michelle?
Sure.
on- This is the planning and zoning module,
Okay.
okay?
Yep,
So
that's
this
what-
is gonna
that's
be
the-
focused
right.
right on this one.
Thank you.
Okay.
Right. So like Rob said, you currently have permits, complaints, and inspections. So today we're gonna be talking about the projects module. And the whole idea behind this really is to enhance communication between departments, but also to track your documents and your planning and zoning items that are coming in. So just to show you how it does enhance the communication, I went ahead and put in a application for a building permit for a shed. So in this particular scenario, like maybe the shed is over the setback lines or something like that. So this is the start page.
Does this get entered by, can this get entered by the applicant when they're applying, or does this have to get entered within the department?
This is entered within the department.
Okay.
So, you know, Brad would get an application that came in. So I've gone ahead and put one of these in here. And, this is being sent to the zoning board because it doesn't meet setback
And it
requirements.
has a date on it, of course,
Yeah.
also, so you can track the dates. But Lori bring up an interesting point in that, the applicant cannot enter the information because they can enter incorrect information and then, you know, our whole system gets thrown out. But when it comes to a renewal, they can go on. They won't be able to change any of the information that's there, but they can go on and pay by credit card in order to renew the permit based on what they originally applied for.
So this particular application has to go before the ZBA for an area variance, okay? But it starts in the building department. So any record that is assigned to an individual will show here on the start page.
To an individual or an
helps.
address.
Right, and it helps so things won't fall through the cracks, you know? So by clicking here on the projects, this is a user-defined list of different projects. Everybody has a different list. Simply click on the type, and this is gonna open up our project record. Okay, it is an area variance. They're seeking a variance for a shed. Okay, we can search for the parcel.
So there's various search methods to get to what you're looking for?
Yeah, so this is our parcel search. I have it set to all, but there are various ways that you can search for a parcel.
And that's dictated by with our planning department, or you have set modules for that, or the planning department can customize some of that?
This is all set
Okay.
within the program, the
Okay.
ways that you search.
But if you
And-
wanted to add a different search module, you could.
Well, we pull all your parcels into your assessment database. So like, when they're searching, we have clear-cut search.
Right.
Yeah,
Search
fields,
engine.
yeah,
Name,
fields, okay.
SBL
Address,
number,
tax,
address,
map.
that's all you really need.
That's what I was just wondering,
Yeah,
they're,
yeah,
they're,
yeah.
they're set, they're
So,
not
when
Color
customized.
Michelle
house.
went to search for a parcel, the reason why we have the customer search by parcel is because a lot of people, just say for instance, street, some people type in Main Street and spell it out. Some people put ST, some people put capital ST. So then you have all different types of streets in there. So when we pull from assessment, that's it.
It's
There's
get
only
one,
one,
okay.
exactly, so it minimizes errors.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm sure you found that out the hard way.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna select the
And I'm
parcel.
assuming they'll receive training. You're gonna be
Oh,
doing a
absolutely,
good
yeah,
amount
we
of
do
training.
on-site training, yeah, absolutely, that's what we've done here for all of the modules you guys have.
It's pretty
Okay.
user-friendly.
So when I save
does.
this, that parcel information copies down here into contacts, okay? Now with projects, it's a lot of paperwork, as you know, planning and zoning, lots of applications, things like that. So images and docs are very important within this module. And like we said, you can put any digital format on here. It can be PDFs, it can be, you know, the video. So for here, I'm just gonna go ahead and put in an application. Now, these applications, you know, they're pretty lengthy, so you could pretty much go paperless with this. You could scan this in and attach it to the record.
Exactly, you should have it here in the first place.
Nice. You're gonna have
This is,
fun with it.
Jeff Murphy from our planning. Do you wanna sit up? I'm sorry, Jeff, that we should have had you here from the.
Jeff's been asking for this
Beginning.
program for as many years
I-
as.
Yes,
Planning
Jeff,
department.
yeah, Jeff
Morning,
Murphy's
Jeff.
head of our,
Sure.
land
And that's,
management.
Sure.
and that's something that we did also when we were exploring computer programs, is that we brought in the end users, so that the end users could identify which program that they would feel, would best suit the town of Riverhead, because not everybody likes change. And when you've been doing something for so long a certain way, like receipting a check in a book, or, you know, putting it in a drawer, or what have you, people tend to push back on change. So we didn't want the end users having a computer system that was forced on them. We left it up to the end users to decide which system they liked the best. And then we worked within the parameters and the pricing, and it's kind of, we've done a lot of customizing over the years too.
So, Rob, Michelle,
Yes.
Jeff Murphy, he's the head of our land management department. My apologies for not having you here in the first place. So we've just started, they're just going through the modules that they're suggesting for the planning department. So do you wanna just give him the first?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So Jeff, what I did is I've gone ahead and started a record for an area variance. So this is a shed that doesn't meet setback requirements. So I had showed how you can put images in docs, so I've scanned in your application. You could have this filled in, scan it in and attach it to the record, so it becomes one organized unit. Okay, and just going from left to right, it's pulled down that contact information. Now, I went ahead and attributes, because on your application, you have a lot of things that are required. So I just wanted to show you an example how you can create a checklist in here. So, have they submitted the building permit? That was one of the questions. Did they do the disclosure affidavit? You also can just fill in the blank and put any notes that you might want in here. So these are all user defined. You can have any information that you'd like tracked in there. Okay. Variances. Now, this is an area variance, but if it was a use variance, you could easily, we put all of your uses in here and your zones. You could choose the residential. For this place, it's going to stay a residential, but you could switch the uses up. Okay. Choose your zone. Maybe it's a side yard setback. 100 feet required.
It pops up with our parameters also, it knows what our, for the different zones are,
No,
what the
that's-
requirements in there,
that's a
can you put,
different
is that in
Well,
there?
the zones we pull,
Yeah, okay, and you pull
yeah.
the requirements in
yeah,
there,
we
so,
can do the config with that.
Yes, that's all
Okay.
part of the setup
Yeah.
packet.
Right, but you
Thank
can do an overlay of the tax parcels throughout the town, and then when you click on that parcel, it'll tell you what the zoning is and things of that nature. Right
Yeah,
now,
That would be really helpful, you click
But
on it
that's-
and then.
that's a little more expensive.
Yeah, but you can grow into things
Yes.
too, so.
Also with this, as you're adding data, it will remember the setbacks and things that you're putting in here. So you won't have to fill in everything.
At this point, do
It was a one shot,
have
one time deal.
our parcel data on the BIS system yet?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So all this stuff could be already, it's already.
Basically, yeah, if you do
Building-
get this, they already have several years of history in here.
Right.
So we pull, I was just explaining, we pull all your parcels into ARPIS, okay, the assessment data comes.
That was the first thing
So
we did, is put in all the
everything's
tax parcel numbers and who owns the property.
Yep.
More
We-
information you get up front,
Mhm.
zoning, wetlands, or
Right.
flood zone data, anything like that, the more information, the better.
Before we even implement this module, we would do analysis with you. We give you a packet, we go over everything. So all of this would already be set up. We would know your zones, we would know your project types, your fee schedule, all of that. So you do have the ability to track fees in here. And then do fee-based reports.
A lot of this, if we could generate a report off this, a lot of this stuff we have to hand research now.
Yeah.
If you just click on this, it prints it, it's all in white.
Any note that's ever been filed,
gonna
whether
have
there's
it
been a
right
code
there.
complaint, whether there's been a building permit applied for, whether it's
Yeah.
in site plan, whether secret.
Make things, go things a lot faster.
So you can track payments. Now this here with bonds, this is a nice, you put escrows in here too. And it's a great way to track the money that's coming and going. So, if I put $1,000 in here, on this side here, I can track the money and, let's see, engineering. By hitting the toggles here, I can add more money to the bond, I can take money away, but then you can also report upon that. So when they're getting close to, when the fees are low, you can send a reminder out to them, letting them know that.
Which was what we do with the stormwater pollution prevention. When we take in those permits, we take in an initial fee, which I believe is still $3,500. When we get to 25% of that $3,500, we send out a letter to the applicant saying that, you've drawn down and you still don't have your SWIP approved, you have to submit additional money. And engineering does that. But it's very hard to keep track of, but this will automatically signal to you that the funds are low and that you have to ask them for more money.
And we
And
have,
then you generate a letter from the engineering department, and you just click on that letter and it automatically generates the letter. All you have, you don't even have to type in the applicant's name and address, it just automatically generates the letter.
Right, there's a custom form designer in here, and we can put any forms that you want in here.
Right, Terry Davis Sweeney?
Approvals, you can have any approving body in here, health department, architectural review board, zoning board, okay? Now, this is nice, related permits, so any permits that happen to be on this parcel are gonna show here in the tab also. So you can see, you know, they have a deck, they have a single-family residence. You can double click on any of those and get more information as well. Okay?
You can get a copy of the CO, you
Yeah,
just double click
when
on
you
it
first
and
start.
get a copy of the permit.
Yep. And then the last thing that I'd like to show you are these actions, and this is a great way to track where you are in the process. So if you're sending out your 500-foot notice and that's been sent, any notes that you want to add onto that? If you've put your legal notice in, your public hearings,
Or you could just attach the document.
yes, yeah. But if you add your public hearings in here, you can do a public hearing report.
Right. It reports on everything you put in the system.
So that's where you can attach files?
Everywhere through the system, you
Okay.
can attach files.
That's good, resolution, special permits from
Yeah.
the town board, everything.
Yeah, so anyone who opens this record now can see all the actions that you've taken and where you are in the process.
I like that this continues the work that we started with the tri-board meeting.
Yes,
Ties things together.
Yeah.
yes, it really does.
It just goes to show you how much your government's involved in everything you do, actually.
And then these actions can be reported upon, so all of the actions that I put on this record are showing here.
Right, so when somebody calls and says, what's the date of the zoning board application? You could just type in the address or the applicant's name and search by that and click on it and it'll tell you the date of the hearing. So you don't have to actually go to the file, pull it out, see when they applied, see.
Right.
So you can see it does track everything within the process of a planning or a zoning record. All of your actions, money coming and going, applications.
Well, this is a fairly simple one with a shed, but there are some that are very, very complicated.
Yes.
very difficult. Where does all this information go? I mean, we don't probably have hard drives big enough, all this is
No,
here.
it's on your server. Everything's
Server's
on your
big enough to handle
server,
that?
yep.
There's
So
an
we set up
attachments
the
folder.
VM with Terry and Lori, okay, so you guys got everything's already established. This is
Okay.
just gonna be
An
a
additional-
module that we need to configure and, flip the switch and set up for you. Cause you already have the other modules.
There's probably stuff
so-
already in the system, just trying to coordinate it into the one.
Right, like when
Yeah,
Brad gets a
yeah.
building permit and then he kicks it to, you need special permit or you need site plan, like that information is already in the system. So this would just be building onto it where Jefferson and, Jeff Seaman can also,
I think the question is, where is it stored? Is it stored in-house or in the
On our
cloud?
server.
In-house.
Yeah,
Yep,
I
it's on
think
your
that was the
ser-
question you were asking.
Yeah, it's on your server here at the,
Because we're gonna rely on
at the
this a
town
lot,
hall.
I hate to see it all go bye-bye somewhere.
Yeah,
No,
there's an
no.
attachments folder on your server,
Right.
and that's all there.
The nice thing is, when his department comes on board, you already have nice history already here.
Right.
So you'll just start with the planning and zoning, and, all the research and everything's there right now for what you've been doing the last several years.
What about the projects that are currently, that all has to get inputted
Yep.
in there?
Mhm.
And now is that part of anything? Do you guys help input, or that gets done through the department?
Through the department.
Through the department?
Yep.
you
Typically
could
when
pay
the
for them to
department
do it.
comes
I mean,
on.
we had it because code enforcement had a lot of information on an Excel sheet
Mm-hmm.
for all the past code complaints, but the
Right.
Excel sheet was on one desktop. So they were able to convert that Excel sheet into
Right.
the, tax map number that was identified for the parcel, but that's because it was in an Excel sheet,
Right.
so.
If it's on a digital format, we can take a look at that.
Does it have to be Excel or can it be a Word document?
Excel.
Excel's best, yeah.
So, I'm told that you do have that in a format, in an Excel format in the planning department, so there would obviously be an extra fee for you to convert that data, BAS, into the actual tax map number, as we did with code enforcement. I think we paid you, it
Yeah.
was,
Well, the reason why the extra fee is because I have to have a programmer to
Well, it's
take
labor
that
intensive.
data, right, and then.
It's just switching in the
And then
data,
we
it's
gotta
just inputting the
test-
data, correct?
Yes,
Now, let me ask a question.
Sure.
Jeff, you,
Oh.
both of you, will this help with all the stuff you have to drag across the street for me? would you be able to open up some things on here as opposed to
Absolutely.
dragging all that paperwork over here?
We would still have to have the file with us because
Mm-hmm.
when we have plans,
Right,
you're not going to see that on a
those are
laptop.
not going to be, that's what I was wondering.
Now, your plans, though, I don't know if you were here for that, you can scan all your plans into the system. And then,
Yeah, but-
then they retain on that parcel level too.
Right, but when it comes
So-
to looking at setbacks and things like that, it might be very difficult on a
Yeah,
laptop. to-
yeah, but I'm saying you can
Just
at
to have a
least scan-
digital copy
yes,
for,
yes,
for
you can.
posterity there,
Right.
so that if, you know,
Yep.
35 years you're going back to
Right.
look at it, you at least have
You
it
have something
something,
scanned
somewhere,
in,
we have one
so-
digital copy.
Right,
Uh,
Big thing is for, information sharing both within the department, within various departments, we always get the phone call, what's the status of?
exactly.
But equally important, the outside world. We've gotta get this online for the outside world to have access to it, because otherwise the phone calls are still coming to us. Yes, it's in one location, it'd be nice to, like other places do, you pay an annual membership fee, and they can go on the computer and look at all this stuff from their laptop.
Yeah, we discussed that before you came here.
Yeah, that would be
It's,
great.
it can be done, it's just, it's a
money.
web portal.
Yep.
So, it has to be set up.
So that's a separate module of the web portal, or
Yes.
that's just an add-on to this?
That's an online module that
Okay.
integrates with the whole entire IPS system, yes.
Okay,
And I don't think we
And I can
got
review
the
that
price
with
on
you
that
some
yet.
other time. No, yeah, I didn't, we didn't even talk about that
No.
really before.
okay.
We were just trying to get this
Yeah.
going.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
baby-
it's
baby
nice
step.
that you guys are doing, to be honest with you, instead of buying everything at once, because these projects tend to get very large, when you guys do phased implementation, it goes so much better. So I think you guys approached it in the right way, because, you know, once you get a department going, they get comfortable with it and they see the benefits of actually using it, then you get the other ones going, and then the integration starts. And your very first two departments, the permitting department and the code enforcement complaint tracking, went extremely well. The fire marshals then saw the other side of it, and they're like, wow, we can track all this stuff, and then their 1 years, 3 years, their assemblies and businesses, you know, before, it was difficult.
To integrate everything.
Yeah, and then they're like, well, when's this inspection coming
Well,
up, and
it's-
blah, blah,
yeah,
blah, blah, blah.
absolutely.
Now, you key all that in, they don't have to remember a year or 3 years from now. It flags them that that parcel's ready to be
And you
inspected.
put a tickler on there that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
pretty much-
no,
It
yeah, they
automatically-
tag all the parcels, and then, you know, we have municipalities throughout the state, I don't know if you guys do this, but rental registrations and tracking zombie properties is a huge hot button right now in New York State. Our periodic inspection module tracks all that stuff. You just go through, you tag those parcels, and then boom, the fire inspectors have all that information at their fingertips now.
And the periodic inspections came on when we bought the fire marshal
Right,
module. So
exactly.
that's something that Rich was pushing for many years. It also, Jim, back to your question, it will also, the inspection module is very helpful because when you're the fire marshal and you're supposed to be doing annual inspections or triannual inspections, they were falling very behind. If you remember when we were laying off the fire marshal many, many years ago, they were saying, you're behind in all your inspections. This will automatically put that inspection that it's due into the calendar of whichever fire marshal or code enforcement officer is following up on an inspection.
Right. So that's basically just an overview, you know, but here's the thing, and I think she asked the question is,
I like it.
if you guys decided to do this, what happens is, an analysis phase would happen, so we would come out and sit with Jeff, okay, and his team or whatever, sit at a round table, figure out his workflow and processes, then we go back and configure his database piece of the system. So all of the forms, the letters Michelle was talking about, the fee
The
structure.
software's configured.
That's all
it's all-
done.
Okay.
And then we get in contact with Terry and Lori, we, install the system from our office, so they'll have it before the trainers come on site, okay?
And it was a good exercise, because I actually sat in the building department when we were implementing that program. And as they were inputting forms that the building department used, they found a lot of errors in the forms or things that had changed, so they updated the forms before they actually
Right
got
then,
put
yeah.
into the system. So that was very time consuming for BAS when they first came in, is that there were constantly forms that were being changed and added, and forms that were added that were being taken out and then changed, so it's just a great way.
Now, what about
to-
the foundation for what, like, who, probably you would have to be actually putting our code in, what our setbacks are, where they apply, and what parcel it is.
Well, we're gonna do that.
All
I
those
mean,
rules and regs
right.
for pertaining to
We,
properties.
we'll sit with him, figure out all the,
Nuances of that,
requirements
because that all
for,
has to go.
right, for the town of Riverhead, we figure that out with him. We take all that information back to our office and then we configure the database for that.
Jeff, I know you, any other thoughts from you as far as things that you would like to see in a system, or important for you guys to have from your department, just so that we can see
This
if we
only
can-
gets us like through a certain part of the process. You got the process where there's many application, then you have the process, once the application is in the system and it's being processed by the planning board, the zoning board, then you have the post-approval process, so you got the third tier of process. Okay, you got your planning board approval, okay, what we frequently get the question is, from the applicants or building inspector is, okay, what are we waiting for to issue the permit? Rather than Brad having to come to me or to Karen or Greg and find out where we are, he can just click on this and go, okay, we're waiting, we got all the list of all the different departments have to sign off on it. All right, we don't have fire marshal yet, we don't have engineering yet.
And the systems integrate with each other, like what P's saying, I'm waiting for fire marshal, we'll bounce it over to fire marshal, and then
Yeah.
it will indicate that they
Well,
need to go out.
That's the
And just-
workflow.
Right.
I know, so is that within this system, the bump, is there a check that you can bump to somebody else?
Yes.
Okay,
That's
is
the
that,
workflow.
okay, but
Which we don't
which is
have.
a separate and
It's
apart?
the workflow engine, yeah. But that's the nice thing about when you start doing this, because it takes away all the, you know, second guessing and calling and,
But
you
can
know.
he manually do it from bump, like if he
It'd be
has,
automatic.
can he, without the workflow,
Mhm.
can he
Well,
bump
he-
it to the next one for the? Jody, can I just ask the question first,
Yeah, I
please?
get what you're
Thank you.
saying.
I know, so can I finish my question?
Oh, you did,
Um,
3 times, but go ahead.
So my question is, if he's filling it out and he needs a permit for another department, or wants to know if another department has addressed it,
Right.
is there any way with this system that you bounce to the other system without that workflow?
it's not gonna balance per
Okay.
se. But
So-
once he and his staff input the information into this module, the other people that have access to the system can see.
It will
Which
indicate
is-
where,
It
where the
indicates, yeah,
stop is.
but it doesn't automatically bounce. Now,
No.
that's where workflow comes
Right,
in.
okay.
Go ahead,
Can-
Michelle.
Can I
Which
elaborate
is
on
what
that?
I was
sure.
gonna say, is that Jeffrey will have access to the fire marshal, so he'll be able to go click on the fire marshal and see in the notes where the fire marshal is in the application process. So if the fire marshal sent a letter saying your plans are inadequate, then Jeff will say, no, you're still missing fire marshal, and then he can go right over to the fire marshal module and say, because your plans are inadequate, and that was sent to you a month ago, so why haven't you
I get it.
resubmitted your
That's what
plans?
you just said.
Right.
I know.
Yes,
Right, but also
So-
But
through
it's by
these
email.
approvals,
okay, go ahead.
so if you look at the screen, like your fire marshal, any approving bodies will all be here, okay? And then when you double click on these, you can put your notes, conditionally approved, what the conditions are before it's approved. So once you add all of this information in here, it'll go to the start screen. And those outstanding approvals will show right on your start screen, so they do have
So you
the
guys can
ability
see.
to just click on them and
And take a
see
look,
it.
okay,
Yes, as long as you're a member of that approving body, you'll be able to see that.
okay, thank you.
But we get to say which are the approving groups, because
Yes.
Yes,
that
you-
varies per
Yeah.
application.
You
Just
tell
click
us
them
what
off.
they are.
They're
Yeah.
all listed, and then you click them off as to which ones you're waiting for.
Okay.
And so Jeff, for the three things that you, between submittal and post, do you feel like that's answered in this, or there's other things that you,
Well, I think, there's two parts. One is the internal stuff, which is great, that's the first step, and then the second part is getting the web portal for the add-on, because so much of what we're being asked is, we get the phone calls, other people from the outside of town hall are looking for information. If it's out there, it
they don't have
takes
to
us out of
call
the,
you?
you don't have to call us.
And now for the web portal, are there different variations on the web portal as far as what the public has access to? As far as the programs go, so you can give us a proposal on that also,
Yeah.
for the.
And then we configure that to what you guys wanna do. Now, like, you may want, you can do it, whatever you wanna do. It's all customizable
Right.
by municipality. So we would, again, come and sit with you guys and say, what are your goals? What do you guys wanna accomplish? And then we'd say, okay, we can do this, we can do that, and we would just have a nice meeting together, and then we can configure however you want.
But for the program that's here now, so say like if we didn't have the web portal, does Jeff have the ability to pull up, as you said, that one sheet where everything is? the steps that have been taken, can he just email that to somebody?
Yes.
He doesn't, you don't have to go through all the paperwork and everything, you could pull up the one thing that kinda takes you through the steps, that comes out in a written format that you can email off to somebody also. So it is a two-step process as opposed to somebody looking at it directly, but you do have the ability to do that without going through and searching everything, correct?
Right, cause
Yes.
he's gonna be able to pull anything up in the system.
And then you can email that over if
Go ahead.
somebody,
Yeah,
So you
that's
can
what that
show-
action
Yeah, this is-
summary
show this
report is all
council.
about, and, all of the forms have the ability to
this
be
is what
saved to PDF and then emailed.
And Jeff, you're
Right, but
looking for
I-
people within town hall to be able to access it, so that,
Yeah,
to
so
cut back on us all calling you and
that means
asking
Jody
about
doesn't have to call me
particular
up going,
things.
what's the status of an application?
Exactly.
Exactly.
but you can give people that are asking questions that you feel the access to it,
Yep.
so they don't need to call you,
Yeah.
they can,
That's
they,
what I'm saying.
everybody,
Anybody-
there's,
Anybody in town hall
can view.
Town hall, you don't
yes.
want residents.
Right, right, because,
Right.
and you can, and the access that you can have access where people, there's limited access based on who it is that's accessing it, whether they can change input, things like that,
Well,
correct?
I think when we went in our spreadsheets, I'm sure there's some way you can click on something that's publicly available or not publicly available, because some of this stuff might be internal only.
Yeah, internal only, yeah, you,
It's
yeah.
restricted,
Yeah.
you would just mark it as restricted.
You
But,
flag it.
the one thing because I thought that with the forms that were within the system, that he would have to print out this form and then scan it in order to be able to
Well, he can
attach
print
it to an
a
email.
PDF.
If-
You
okay,
can print
but
it to a
wait.
PDF and then email it.
And right, so
So,
then you
like-
have to you have to take this document, you have to save it to a PDF in your computer outside of the system. Then you can send an email and attach that document. So you can't just email this form out of the system.
No.
So I just wanted to be clear on that, because
That's
You
with
just,
the,
it's a QPDF,
I
right?
like that,
right?
because you're segregating
Right.
what you wanna say.
So then you just take it,
Right.
you put it into
like
the
that.
print.
but with the workflow,
That's internal.
you
Right.
can email it. No, you can email it internally or externally.
Right.
If it
with
got
the
to the
workflow.
point where we opened it up to the outside, like for title searches and such too, what kind of fees are generally charged for doing that?
For the,
For access to,
Online
Access to the
module?
public.
for access to the
Southampton-
public.
Realtor,
to the-
web portal.
I have a subscription with Southampton and they charge $300.
A year?
Yep,
Now, the one question I have is, for smaller applicants, they're not be able to do this, maybe perhaps, but the larger, engineering companies, if they type out applications in some sort of document, give us an electronic copy of it, can we just download that right into it so we don't have to manually import the data?
Like if they give you a CAD file or something like
Or
that?
some sort of electronic version of the application?
Yeah, you can drag that from your email right
Into
into
the
the images and docs.
Not
But
just
no,
what's
he's
in the image.
talking about integrating an application, so
Right.
if somebody gives you all the specs that you're gonna that you're gonna populate your,
Data fields in.
data fields in, is there a form that they can fill out electronically online that you can easily import into this system?
Oh, if you put that form onto the web portal.
We could, yeah,
It would be able
onto
to
the
be
web portal.
put in there.
but the web portal was the most expensive proponent of,
Yeah, the web
This-
portal, I mean, we can show you a little
web
bit of what
portal is where
Syracuse
we
has.
look.
I mean,
No,
it pulls all the information from your IPS database, so that's the basis of the web portal, but then,
But I don't think that's
Yeah.
what Jeff's asking, I think
Right.
what Jeff, like.
he wants a fillable PDF form.
He wants a
and then
fillable
boom.
PDF one that'll populate this form,
Right,
and without it being the web portal. Just,
Right.
so can you?
That would be amazing, but I
But
can't.
can
believe
you-
we don't
that.
have that.
You don't have
No,
that?
No,
No.
Okay,
no, doesn't mean we can't get that,
Right,
but we
but-
don't have it right now,
okay,
and I don't wanna mislead anybody.
okay, so that's,
they're capable of writing any programs that we need in order to supplement the system that we have now. I believe years ago, we asked you to work on the fleet management, which you didn't have a fleet management at the
Right.
time, so I know that you guys have been working on that, if you haven't already finished it.
Yeah, we've been working on a lot of different things. Lori Interior, always in contact with them and stuff, and seeing what we need to tweak or whatever and help out the department, so.
so I guess what we need is just, for the,
Planning and zoning.
planning and zoning, and then, also for the workflow. Just,
Workflow.
yeah,
Now, the workflow module is really nice, it's all automated, so like, you know, as an example with Jeff, I mean, the going for a permit and things like that, you know, it has all these approval stages, automatic. So it'll pop off an email, you know, or say, has this been approved, where's the approval process? I don't know if you can show that today or not, but.
Don't
it's
get
a
Jeff
little-
too excited.
No, but that's what happens. So when a resident comes in to, you know, go for a permit, the application comes in, there's set requirements that
That they have to.
that needs to meet. And now, we would configure that where it's just blasting off these approval processes
Right.
behind the scenes. So it eliminates all the back and forth,
Yes,
this and
it
that
doesn't
and
go
blah,
to
blah,
a certain
blah.
desk unless it meets
Exactly.
the threshold for that
Exactly.
person.
Every person responsible for it will be
Approves it.
equated to it at the
yeah,
same time.
and then it'll get approved, okay, now the permit can be approved, because
Right.
it met these requirements from these different departments.
great.
Or
And
department.
then it'll pop back to them with the
The
check.
application checklist, first I get a site plan application, we can go through and see if something's missing or not missing, we click on it, and can generate a letter off of that by not having to retype the whole letter and then having to type out
Jeff,
every
could you
single.
speak up a little louder, that it's not picking you up?
Not hearing
Or
you.
speak towards the microphone, I
Yeah.
guess, it's.
Yeah, I don't have a
You
picture.
look too relaxed.
What,
I don't want the public to know what I'm saying.
They don't understand
He's
you anyway.
joking.
Careful, might end up
what,
with
what are you
paper.
guys using right now for your planning department? What-
Paper and pen.
Okay. No, this would be
Pony
great right away.
Express.
I was just asking, cause you know, I tell you, I travel all the time, and we work with hundreds and hundreds of municipalities, but the one consistent thing is, everybody operates differently, I'm telling you. So, to get a system like this in place for you, you guys are gonna see the benefits like immediately,
Mhm.
especially after, you know, I get a couple people down here to work with him, and then get the database configured, get it implemented.
I think,
boom.
and right now, my biggest thing, and not that it's the biggest thing, I'm sure all of it's important, is these covenants and restrictions we have on so many different parcels and so many different developments. Sometimes goes, oh, shoot, we didn't know about that.
Yeah.
So
Right.
this would at least import that, so we know.
Right.
Exactly.
And you can also put a separate, search engine or a separate component on the planning and zoning that says any covenants and restrictions, so that you can automatically
Yeah,
click on
that's
that
a good
and,
thing to have.
and it, and then, so everything that you check
TDR
off, but part of the workflow program is that BAS would have to enter all the email addresses of all the people that may have participation in an application. And then when the application comes in and it's discovered who needs to be weighing in on this application, you would just go through all the emails and click, whether it's CDA, whether it's the supervisor, whether it's town board, whether it's, and everybody would get those emails being updated of the progress as things move along and get approved.
Now, we can do that for the internal, departments, can we add outside agencies to that for sharing information?
Like,
Yes, you
I
can
don't know
add
that
the
you,
emails.
I don't know that you'd want
If you
outside
wanna do
agency on your internal system to start off with. I mean,
no,
you'd
they
have to
won't
put-
be able to add anything. You mean to notify them of anything?
Yes, you
If
can
you just pop
email
off an
for like
email?
see-
You
Yeah,
can
you
email
can,
outside
yeah.
agents.
Deleted.
You don't want anybody to enter,
Right.
but
Right.
yes, you can pop off an email to them.
Okay.
But then
Yes.
do they have access to it?
No.
No.
Because if we have it on our server, they don't have access to
Absolutely
it.
You can
not.
restrict
No.
access and editing
But I
to-
mean, to what? Because we're not in the cloud. That's my only concern.
They're
with
not
it.
gonna have, no,
Okay. My other question is, as far as updates go,
yes.
what kind of, you know, as you update software updates, is that included in the package? Or
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
That's in the annual maintenance
Okay.
agreement, and no different than the tax department or anything. We do annual updates, and one of the big things is, we cover all state mandated changes, okay, no charge.
And that's also with professional development with that also?
Yep.
So any updates, does somebody come here to instruct, or how does that work? Or even just, you know, on an annually, do you just, you know, these are new things that the system seems to,
Right.
people are discovering from different things, and they're
Yep.
finding this is a time saver?
We do
How do you do that?
enhancements, we do enhancement updates to the system, and then again, if New York State comes out with any state mandated change, we make that change. Then we notify all of our customers that there's an update, then they download the update at their, you know, we work with IT departments typically. We download the update and then, give them update highlights. If anybody calls, they need help or have a question, we help them, we don't charge anything extra for that. So like with the tax department or anything, it's the same process. Actually, Michelle and her team, with the IPS system and tax, they send out monthly tip sheets too. Yeah,
okay.
so that's all inclusive. So
Okay.
once a month, they get tip sheets on how to do certain things in the system, just a one-page, you know, functional, tip sheet type of thing,
Right, and after the update is administered, we schedule update highlights training, and that's all
Okay, that's what
done
I'm wondering, so
remotely
there's training,
also.
there's training available
Yep.
if the updates are coming through, just to, so
Yep.
that
Just
it,
to show you the new functionality.
okay.
And we do that remotely though, once we're on
Yeah, that's
site,
fine.
yeah,
Yeah,
once
yeah.
we're on site, I mean, they would get people here to work with their department, just like permitting, codes and fire, okay?
Okay.
And Lori, I mean, when they went with live with, I think Kyle's here now, and Chris, they were here on
When
site.
they went live.
Yep, so, we get, in-person training all the time with
Okay.
that type of.
And we actually
training.
beat you up on that part of the contract too, if I
Yeah.
remember correctly.
You
for
did
the
a little
annual.
bit, yeah,
Expect,
So-
expect more of that.
okay, I'm sure,
Let the flogging
you know,
continue.
we're,
Well, we're certainly moving forward, I think, as far as all this internet
Yeah.
and coming into the,
It really is,
Yeah.
you know,
coming into
cost
the
saving.
1990s now.
It's cost saving and time saving, you
is
know,
time
so that you're not paying, you know, people that are highly educated to be putting in, you know, tracking down
The next
data as
generation
opposed
is
to
all,
doing what they
Trying to pull out files to find.
it's looking
meant
at
to be
us, I
doing.
think.
Just to go back to,
Nobody does paper anymore, we're gonna save many, many forests.
just to go back to training 1 minute, because you did talk about training as we go along the way.
Sure.
I just want to find out that people are getting proper training as you start the program. And how does that work? I know you said you have a round table first and figure out the needs and the wants, and then from there, how does the training work for the department?
Okay, that's a good question. So basically, if you decided to do this, we would schedule an on-site analysis visit. So Michelle, or maybe another person would come and work with Jeff, okay, and whomever he wants at the meeting. We would leave that meeting with all the requirements we need to configure the database. Once we're done with the database configuration, we get a hold of Terry and Lori and we say, we're ready to install the program. We do that remotely from our office. Once the program is installed, then we schedule on-site training. So it happens pretty quickly. After the install is done, we contact him and say, here's some dates, pick a date, we'll be here. So we come out, you know,
So it's maybe a 1-day training?
No.
yeah, it's broken up.
Or how-
It's broken up.
Sometimes it'll take a little bit longer to train than
I mean,
others.
you were in the building department for at
A
least
few
2.
days, yeah. So typically, we would start with a 1 day, we would leave, the office and they'd travel in the morning, they'd be here for an afternoon session, they'd stay overnight, be here for a morning session, then go back. Then the next week or 2 weeks later, they'd come back. But in the interim timeframe, we're always on the phone, you know, and one of the nice things is on our website, you know, we have a remote assistance button. Your users click that button, it connects our screens together. My staff will give you a session key, you connect the screens, it's
So
no
they'll
charge.
remotely access to tell you how
It's a
to do it.
webinar, hey, this is how you do this, blah, 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 blah. And we expect those phone calls, you know, that's part of the whole
There's
thing.
gonna be some in
you
your
know.
office that are
Yeah.
gonna be,
You
like
know,
that.
you don't
Like
learn
you
everything
and
all at
here.
once, so.
So
you know.
you're saying that, like Jeff was saying, some people might get it quickly and some others may
Yeah,
not,
mhm.
so
Right.
you might even come back out and
We will
work
come
with them
back out,
again.
yeah,
Okay,
it's a
good.
process,
It's
Just
it's
wanna make
definitely
sure.
a
About
process.
all this, I'm gonna be probably the slowest learner in
It's
the
okay.
office, but I recognize the need for this. The
yeah,
other
but
thing
you
that,
catch pretty quickly, it's all user-friendly, it looks like, it's clicking tabs. and
Yeah,
things
once
are-
you learn it, you'll be fine.
the other thing that, I found that was helpful, if we don't get the web portal because whatever reasons, cost, whatever, is to have a public access computer terminal by the front counter, so that people, instead of coming to the front counter and going, what is my zoning, what is whatever, and we have to go pull out the file. If you have a terminal dedicated for the public use, they can go right to the terminal and look up whatever parcel information they want at the terminal, rather than having to come interface with staff.
Right, and you can restrict that terminal as to what information they can see.
Right.
Do other municipalities tend
Yes,
to do that? or
Southampton
some
has
do?
it.
Yeah.
Like-
And
We,
that-
we would work with you
Like
to
ordering
make
food
sure
from a
you,
computer
what
at
you
the
want
time,
is what
instead
you're
of
gonna
going
give
somewhere.
out.
Okay.
I don't like
If
it.
you want a kiosk, certainly
Well,
we
take a
can
look at that.
configure something for
And
you.
we might,
But we
if
wanna
we're
make
gonna
sure-
be using it, we might want some
Yeah.
training. I
Oh,
mean, I
yeah,
might wanna pop
absolutely,
in
of
for the
course.
training because
Yeah,
Because
of course.
that's
we're
the
going
other
to
thing
be
is, we're
using
gonna
it.
tell you what our needs
Yeah.
are, we need to hear from the people what they wanna see, what
Mhm.
information they're looking for. Because, I mean, obviously, we can throw everything on there, but what, you know, my.
Your staff will know what questions they
Yeah.
constantly get.
And again, the phase implementations is the way to go. You learn and
Because
get it in.
you're our customers, I mean, you
Right.
call us all the time, we're asking for
Right.
things.
Zoning, planning department.
All the
but-
That's
reporting.
what
But
I
I
was
like when we
wondering.
Whatever
ask
you
when
need
somebody asks me
report-wise,
something, I
you
said,
Well,
well, let me check.
pull out of
the zoning and
system.
planning
Ask Jeff.
department will, and the zoning and planning boards will have access to this?
They,
Well, if we
Well,
decide,
that's up to you. I mean,
decide
that's
that.
all internal discussions. We
Yes.
can grant access to whomever you want. I mean, but
No, I know.
be
I was
mindful, I mean,
asking
on
them.
what.
of who can change what and what you're just
Exactly,
looking at,
thank
but you can,
Access and
you
input
can,
are two different things.
Right, right. If you want read-only to certain people, they can't
Most
change.
people.
Right, okay, that's important, you know, those are internal discussions. We'll do and configure it however you wanna configure it, so,
Sounds good.
okay.
All right, very good. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Sorry, go
Thank
ahead. You have
No.
one?
What's the next step?
Well,
Um,
let's get a proposal
yeah,
for everything.
yeah.
Well, we have
and-
it for the planning and zoning portal, so we have the proposal for the planning and zoning portal, I believe it was around $18,000, if I'm not
I
mistaken.
can't remember, that was written several
We've
years
had
ago.
that since the beginning,
Right.
Oh, so
and we
the
just
price has
keep
gone
adding
down
on.
because
Yeah, technically,
We put a proposal
Well, just
together
send-
with this
send us
report.
a-
I'll
Send us a-
I'll,
yeah, yeah.
I'll go look at it when I send it, I don't have the date,
Well, give us
in
a few,
mind.
I mean, not only this,
Yeah.
but let's, just for, you know, a wish list, let's see what
what the options
what
are,
that,
what the different
that
costs are.
melding thing,
I think it's
workforce thing, whatever.
this
Workflow.
and just a separate one for the workflow.
Yeah, just,
The workflow, and then later on, you can talk about the web portal, once you get this implemented, you can see how it goes and blah,
Right.
blah, blah.
Baby steps, yeah.
Baby steps,
Baby
and then you can, I can come back and show you what Syracuse does and how they configure their portal,
That's a
because,
city.
yeah, well, but it
It's
has a
not-
lot
Yeah,
of,
it's not as,
it's
it's not
not-
as big as you think.
all right.
right.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of different options you can do, okay? I did put a thing in there for FOIL, I don't know if you need FOIL tracking system. or
I
not,
did
but-
see the one that you sent to the clerk, which I think is probably a
Yeah.
pretty good next step too.
I'm telling you, this FOIL stuff throughout the state is such a hot button, it's unbelievable, so.
It is a
But
time consumer for
It's so time consuming to
everybody.
Right.
get all the info.
Right.
Now, the database, I mean, just real quickly, the requester information goes in, the system produces all the letters, so when you get a FOIL request, you have 5 days to acknowledge the receipt.
Right.
The system has the letters in there for you, so you just put the information in, boom. Actually, Kyle is here, but our next enhancement to the system is, residents can log on your website, fill out a FOIL request, and it's gonna populate our database. And then from there, well, if you're doing a FOIL request, Diane, RMO,
You take them in.
you just click and boom, your letter goes out. And then it tracks the lifespan of the FOIL. You have 20 days to fulfill it, and then our system has all the responses and the letters for that, saying, dear Mr. and Mrs. Smith, we fulfilled your request and here's the information, or we're unable to fill the request and here's the reasons why. Okay, those types of things. But anyway, it's a good thing. A lot of municipalities are taking advantage of it because the time consuming is going back and forth to file cabinets and calling up the building department typically, because a lot of the building departments get FOIL. Where's this information? Then you got a code guy spending time or looking for that information, so, it's just something.
And anybody can get the FOIL request, so if we
I'll
say
leave
that we
these
want the
with
FOIL
you.
request
Thank you so much.
to go to the town
Thank
clerk
you.
and to all the
Thank you.
town board members and to, you know, our FOIL director, who's Dan McCormick, then the FOIL requests, when they come in online, they can go to all of us. They can go to as many people as you want it to go to.
Yeah, and that's a little standalone program. It's not.
Oh, I
as-
thought it was just
It's
a
not-
gift, it was like
yeah.
part of mid,
It's
when
not
you're in
a-
the building.
Well, it's not as involved as the IPS
Yeah,
system
no.
or the tax, believe me, but it is cost effective, but it's very small standalone. It would be her and her staff, that whoever does the FOIL request and, you know, implement it that way, but it's a smaller product that
You want another one?
complements
Take from the
what you do,
That's the
you
same
know.
thing we got?
And Michelle, thank you very much also.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you
for having
very
us
much.
today.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Nice meeting
Thank you,
Stop
Jody.
talking so much, my
Thank
ear
you.
was killing me.
Nice to meet you. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much. All right.
As far as our
Let's just wait, because,
policy goes, or is it professional
Hi,
services?
Michelle, thank you.
Hi, thank
I'll
you.
tell
Professional
you.
services, because it's customized to us.
Nice meeting you.
Michelle, very nice meeting you.
Jody, good to see you.
Good to see you too. Yeah, we had to look into that in the beginning
That's what I
before we
thought it was
bought the
taken
first
care of for the
module,
first.
because it's a customized professional
Okay,
service.
so-
Bill, do you wanna come up for a second? We just have a question.
Considering our, throw it out, well, that's not, there's a reason why it's
I know, but we actually went through this the other day,
good
so.
discussion.
Tim is just asking for, as far as procurement goes, when it comes to, software, where that falls in our procurement policy. I know we spoke about this the other day, but for software.
So this was part, I think they're on state contract,
Yes.
right? So our procurement policy basically says we need either a state contract, we have to go out to bid, anything over, would be anything over $20,000. We would need 3 quotes if it was between $3,000 and $20,000. Since they're on a state contract, then we can just purchase right off the state contract. It integrates with their other modules anyway, so it wouldn't make any sense to go anywhere else, even if we went out.
No, I get that, I
Yeah,
just
PSA,
wanted to make sure
professional
we
service
didn't
agreement.
have to go
Yeah,
out to
so
bid.
we just, now what we're really doing is we have the PSA, and we're just adding modules to what we already
And
have.
as Jody said, because it's customized to us specifically, it's almost like a professional service.
Yeah.
And that's how we got started, because they weren't on the state contract when we came in with the first module, and it was determined by the town attorney that it was a professional service, because it was, adding different modules to what we needed specific to the town of Riverhead.
Software depends, because we had this discussion the other day. You know, if you're ordering Microsoft 365, then, you know.
Right,
it's-
everybody's got it.
Right,
Right,
certain things fall under different things depending on what they're doing.
makes sense.
So,
Okay.
all right, thanks, that was just the question.
Thanks,
That's it?
Bill.
Thank you.
Bill, thanks for coming out. You have a great day.
All right, and now we have, this is for Catherine, it's anti-bias task force signs. Do you want to present?
Yes, I'm the liaison to the Anti-Bias Task Force, the new liaison.
Good for you.
And we actually have a very active task force. There's about 30 members on there. And they've been bringing a lot of educational things forward. And they have this idea that I think started before I came on board about putting signs out. And they did ask me the other evening to bring it to the board and get some feedback from the board. I might ask you to jump in at some point because you were the prior liaison to the board. I think it started under your
Right.
watch. So the first sign they wanted to put out,
Is that Liz
I'm
Flood?
gonna, yes,
Okay.
I'm gonna pass this out and you guys can take a look. I think this is the sign that came up last year. It said, it originally said no hate zone, but I think someone on the board had spoken to them and said they thought that was a little negative. They changed it, they did change it, they decided to say no hate community. Now, in Southampton, I think they have signs that say we are a caring community. But this group felt that they wanted to make a strong statement. They felt this was a strong statement to put out there. I believe Gio's making the signs. Tim, you might have know more about that.
Yeah, they had contacted Gio to see if he could do it in-house, which would be a lot less
Right.
expensive, excuse me, than buying them outright.
There were a lot of comments when this came out also about the signs that, I don't know if the anti-bias task force has looked at the comments that came through, because I believe there were comments that said, I don't want that sign outside my community, because then people coming into my community are gonna think that they're entering, prospective hate zone. There were
Well,
several
that's why,
comments.
actually, that's why they changed, they thought community is better than zone, like
I
this is
agree
the
with
hate
community,
zone, this is
because
the-
otherwise, if this is a hate, no
Yes.
hate community, then
That's what was
maybe the
said.
next one isn't. So, yeah,
Right.
I get it.
That's why they changed it from zone to community, which I do think,
I just think
It's
if
better.
we're gonna go with signs, like, I'm not a big, yeah.
I'm not crazy about these signs.
I'm not.
No, I mean, I hope that with all the anti-bullying and all that, and with all the, I mean, I think each generation gets better,
I'm
but I could
just-
be naive, but, I don't know, I just.
I'm trying to get to the
We
bottom
did
of
the same thing, we did
purpose
zero
of
tolerance
putting
zones
the
on Main
sign
Street,
out.
we
that's
created
why
them
I
as
was
our.
asking you, cause you were there at the beginning of it,
I'm
what
not
was the
sure I
thinking?
understand the purpose for the signs to go up. Because everybody knows what you're supposed to do and what you're not supposed to do. So if this sign is in my neighborhood, okay, I'm a no hate community in my neighborhood, but so I can go to the next neighborhood and I can hate over there because that is, it doesn't make any sense to me. I don't understand why you actually have to put something like this on a sign.
I'm not
The
sure
only
that
thing
it's.
I'm thinking is
yeah.
perhaps also they have the information on there that you call and
I think, and I think if the sign, the caring community, Town of Riverhead,
A little more
anti-bias
positive.
task, something more of a positive message, I think.
I'm not sure a sign's gonna sway
Yeah, this
anybody's
kind of
mind
leads
anyway,
you,
but-
No, it's not.
I think in the direction, and how many of these do they wanna make up?
that I didn't hear, did you know that, Tim?
I don't know.
27 or
Yeah, they were
something is what
talking
they
about
talked
doing
about.
different communities.
And
And again, how do you pick what the community is? How do you, what neighborhood? It's, I
Well,
don't
I'll
know.
take
I'm not
this,
crazy about the idea.
I will definitely take your feedback back to the committee.
Yeah,
That one
This
looks
idea-
happier.
I mean, I like the sign, but the
Yeah,
sign,
I like this one better.
The sign recognizes an issue that might not be as prevalent as we think. I don't know. Because you have a no hate community, that means that there must be hate that exists in your community.
If a sign has to be done, I'd rather have a sign that indicates just the information about who they can contact, that we have an anti-bias task
Yeah.
force. And if you have an
Are
issue,
you a
call
victim
this
of
number,
this?
if it's an
Call this
emergency.
number or
Right,
something
in
like
that
that.
respect, I think,
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it is good that people would think, oh, this is happening to me, this is where I reach out to.
Yeah, I mean, I
So-
think, yeah.
And something
And
like
then a
that, I
caring
would
community
see
underneath or
coming
something.
into your entrances to the town would
Right,
be a
we're a
proper
caring community, if
location.
you're a victim of
Right.
whatever, call this number, or whatever.
Well, we don't wanna put too many signs, we are actually working on cleaning up all the signs in
Yes.
Riverhead.
Right.
Well, I will take all of your feedback back to the committee, but I think this other, this is just some kind of sticker that they're going to be asking stores to put in their window. I think I think you're gonna be more agreeable to this,
Oh, that's nice, well, that's,
right?
I like this one better.
and I like the rainbow, it's so cute, the rainbow one.
How big are these stickers? Cause we also have like window coverage
Winder?
issues
Did
that
you
I
say
know
winder?
that you,
You
winder.
did say winter.
I think
I
these
did-
are small.
These
Okay.
are probably pretty close to what the
Yes,
size
these
Okay.
are a
of them
small thing.
are.
So this is something
this
for
I
And I
don't
think they're
have an
gonna ask
issue with.
permission to put, I think they're gonna ask
Right, they
first.
were gonna ask
They're not gonna
business owners
enforce
permission to
it.
put it up. The only thing I maybe
like
would
the
wanna
brown.
see is the phone number here to contact.
Maybe that's where you could.
Yeah,
put
Right.
that's, I like that too.
that. Okay,
Does it have to be a black back,
Alright.
is this a black background?
sure, we could change that up a little if you wanna add that
I don't know.
information that Tim was
Black
talking
doesn't
about
go
for
with my car
the
very
other
well, I'm
one.
only kidding. I'm gonna
I mean,
put
in the window, it would probably look nicer if you had the clear, made the letters black, had a clear background, it would just be, you know, not as much of an obstruction, but, you know, that's just
I agree
preference.
with you. I think it would stand out more also.
If it has, yeah.
All right, that's all it is
Like,
today,
I do
and
like
will-
this.
They're a great working group, and I will pass this information
A few
along.
years ago, it was a political thing, but they came out with these Riverhead Positive. I love those stickers.
Mm.
It's like, I still got one stuck
That's
on my
kinda
car, but
cool,
it's kinda
actually.
faded now, but that was a great
Yeah.
camp, I love that.
I
I
like
thought it was
that.
on your front bumper.
I
front
don't
grill,
remember
maybe
seeing
it's
those.
not that.
Yeah, the deer took it. The deer right here took it right off.
And thank you to the anti-bias task force, because they, you know, for all the work they do.
They do,
So,
I agree with Catherine,
Yep.
and,
Yeah.
It's a
And I
good,
think it's
place.
only- well, the
30
group is
people, it's a
so
good
large,
cross-section.
It's only going, the
and the
work's
group
gonna
has
get better
gotten
and
a lot
better.
larger, so hopefully.
And
if they
I think
can
there's
break
one
into
man on it
communities.
now, I think.
What's that?
I think there's one man on it now.
All right.
One
So,
man?
yeah, there's one gentleman on it, and all women, so it's good that we're sort of like
I
integrated.
didn't
don't
even
know,
think
I
of
didn't
that, yeah.
notice that.
Isn't there one guy?
Well, on the actual board, the original board, it was all female, I believe.
Yeah, I think there's one man on it now, so we're really moving forward on that.
You're evolving.
Yeah,
Yes.
all right, thank you. And so
Guys
now,
can be tough too.
now we'll move on to the, public authorities meeting schedule with Dawn Thomas.
So just thinking about the anti-bias, maybe they would wanna put a slogan together and
You know, just so they can,
maybe include that on the bookend wayfinding signs on the ends of town. So we're doing the downtown, you know, like there'll be one at, by the Historical Society, there'll be one on the other end, maybe just take whatever their slogan is and just have a placard on that sign.
but do you want, I thought that you try to keep those signs,
I wanna, yeah,
Clean.
I'm just, you know, rather
let's let
than.
it get up for a week before we start it.
I think
Rather than,
celebrating
you know,
difference,
rather than
embracing
adding
equality
to
is
the
a great
collection
slogan.
Yeah, to
that we
more
have,
Great
as
Yeah.
we've
Right.
discussed, you
No,
know,
I understand
you know,
that.
maybe something
I
like
understand the
that.
problem with having too many signs around.
What's the song? Sorry.
I think celebrating
Blocking out the
differences
scenery.
and embracing equality, that's a great slogan.
Do
I
this,
just
don't
think
do
that's wonderful.
that.
Okay, so, we did have in the beginning of the year a schedule set up, which we kind of got, off schedule for our committee meetings, our sub-CDA committee meetings. So we have governance, audit, and finance. I think you've identified the members of all those committees, so we do need to schedule those meetings, hold them, you know, have minutes and look at our policies and things and look at what we might wanna change or.
Are they done at a work session or at a separate?
So you could do them, I think normally would do them at a work session,
Yeah.
probably be the simplest thing you'd have, because it'll be, you know, I think, for instance, governance is Laura, Catherine and Bill Rothar, audit, same, and then I have to look for finance, I couldn't find that one.
Dawn, you need to speak up, Larry's
Oh.
asking for you to speak up.
Yeah.
Sorry. So we could really do them kind of quickly, but they need to be done. And then we also have to do adopt our annual report, which for 17, which I'm working on, and I think the financials are done, right?
The
financials
done, but not before.
The financials is done, but at the, okay.
So that's kind of it.
So my question is, it's a committee meeting, or it has to be like, do we have to announce it as we do a public meeting? Does it have to be, or can it just be on the agenda? Does it need like the 10-day announcement?
It doesn't need a 10-day notice, it can just be on the agenda.
Okay.
They're committee meetings, so they're not board meetings per
Okay.
se, so they're not, I mean, obviously you have them open, but you wouldn't have to if you did it.
But
So
it
we
would
could do
be-
a sub-meeting of a work session for the
Yes,
CBA?
exactly.
Okay, so we'll put that on the
Maybe it would be in lieu of
calendar.
a work session or prior to a work.
Oh, you're not getting out of a
And I
work
think we
session.
could
Oh, come
really
on.
back them out kind of
Come on.
quickly, they're not very, long, they wouldn't be long, it'd be simple and straightforward. so-
Perfect.
All right, we'll
Yeah.
schedule those with
put that the only thing on the
John and
agenda.
Diane, and we can put them on as sub-sessions, and we can just move
Okay,
ahead with
good,
those.
and then we'll.
But it's important,
we'll
and this
see
is
what-
something we have to do only
Yes.
because of,
Yes.
of
And then-
our authority.
Yes, and then the training too, that you have a year to finish that, but,
Okay.
that's still on
You
your
don't have to
list.
whisper that, we all know we gotta get trained.
That was a webinar
It's a
that we
webinar,
had, and
yeah.
it was like a 4-hour webinar.
Yeah, it's great.
Oh, that's way too.
All right, do you wanna stay here,
Popcorn?
Dawn, because you were on the downtown walk
Okay,
with
sure.
us?
And we'll slide over.
I saw you guys walking downtown.
We saw
My
you.
car
We
stalled,
saw
I
you.
tried that.
We saw Doug
We had to push you start,
That's
yeah, we
great.
saw Doug Ead, we saw everybody down there. So I just wanted to update everybody on the downtown walk, the downtown, and then also the downtown committee reminder. So we went for a walk downtown, we had engineering, we had, building, we had code enforcement, we had, the chief with us, we had Dawn was with us.
Law office,
We had the town attorney with us, we had, some representatives from the bid there. I'm trying to think, was there any, did it say, we had code enforcement, what was that? Jeff Murphy. Jeff Murphy was there, so.
And Catherine said she was there.
Catherine was there, yep. We could not do it as a full board meeting because it would have been
That's right,
open to
I'm
the public.
downtown every day.
So basically what we did is we just walked through the whole downtown with everybody. And we looked at different things, different issues that needed to be addressed. A lot of the issues that we were looking at were really, I don't wanna say cosmetic, but they were issues that visual issues, that we thought could be addressed right away. I mean, some of them were where signs had been taken down, where there's a metal pole sticking up a couple inches,
Wow.
that we wouldn't necessarily notice. We looked at the garbage pails, there was some uniformity to the garbage pails, not to others. Like the chief had pointed out, he would prefer to have, we have the black wrought iron ones, and we have, gray cans in there. He said he would prefer to have, a plastic in there so that it can be see-through, to be able to see that. We saw a lot of the buildings where there was over coverage of signs on there that needed to be addressed, to where, there were some cable hookups, that there were wires that were out there that need to be addressed. So there was a lot of issues, even on some of the, construction sites, there was, gates that weren't being used and the fence might have fallen down. So some of the stuff we're just addressing by calling people, asking them to fix, things that were done. Other things, there was a question who was in charge of it. I mean, couple of the things were like the paper road, which is, between the,
Benjamin Place,
what was that?
Benjamin Place you talking about?
Yeah, who's in charge of that and who's
The
responsible?
town,
Yes, yes,
and they gotta repair it.
yes, absolutely, and that's one of the things, to see what was in
I've been asking
disrepair
for a year. about
and
that.
what was looking good. And then this also gives us an idea as we try to identify grants to fix some of these things and what the priorities will be, in putting some of these things forward. So what we are doing now is we have all of our notes from that, everybody from every different department took notes. We will begin to communicate with the departments where they are on that list of things that we've identified and continue to report out, as we address those issues.
Do we have access to that report?
We have not written it up yet, we just went the other day. So
Okay.
we will have to write it up, and then we'll share it with everybody. We'll present it again at a work session, and then we'll have everybody come in as they're addressing the items and share that with
And I
everybody.
think,
'cause
it's important,
exciting.
I always make light that I'm downtown every day, 2, 3, 4, 10 times a day, but you're right, by walking, you see so much more than
Yeah.
driving. And you're right, I appreciate taking those little notes and, because that's the only way you're really gonna address things, is what everybody that comes to our town sees
Yeah.
that we might not.
Right.
And did you mention, I don't know if you mentioned, I'm sorry if you did, that Diane was there from the bid?
Yes, Diane and Steve Shaw also were there.
Just a thought. Benjamin
Down the
Place,
road.
you could, if you wanna dedicate that half to the church and half to, Jeff Rimland and, you know, and make it a nice walkway instead of a roadway, we could probably do that.
Okay, that would be,
The church would invest in that.
okay, we will
would be great.
follow that up.
Just a thought for down the road, that maybe we could do the same in Wading River and Jamesport.
I think in every
I
hamlet.
think that
Right.
came up.
Yes.
You're right, Tim. That's a great idea. That came up. And like Laura said, it was about aesthetics. You know, we were looking, you know, with about 10 people looking, you were seeing all different things, and safety. We
Right.
saw a lot of things that were of a concern for safety, and it was great because we had the people there who actually would be addressing that. So,
And I think one of the issues that came up, I mean, I met with, you had the meeting with the seniors the other day, and there was some issues for Department of Transportation. You know, that is one of the struggles that we have, is that a lot of our roads are not town roads.
Right.
And so we don't have the ability to implement things that we would like to implement. And I think that there's issues all over town with the DOT, Department of Transportation. So I think we also, from doing this, we need to come up with a priority list that we
Okay,
can.
so if I could just say, because the Senior Citizens Advisory Council came to the Traffic Safety Committee, and then
Right.
Traffic
Yeah.
Safety
Yeah.
kicked it to Alternative Transportation
Right.
Committee. Alternative Transportation Committee, you know, Chief and I have already met and looked at several intersections throughout the town, but I'm happy to see that the Senior Citizens Advisory Council is taking it back, and that you'll be addressing all of the intersections that are of concern, so that the chief and I will not continue looking at these intersections. I know he's generated several
Did you-
letters.
Yeah,
to
can you share
DOT?
Can you share the letters that you
And
sent to DOT?
DPW, well, we were gonna finish the report because it came from the AARP and from the Senior Citizens Advisory Council. So
One at a
Chief and I
time.
were going to finish the 20 or 25 intersections that
Right.
were problematic. We've already walked through Main Street and through other parts of town looking at intersections, and he's generated letters, and we were going to complete the whole 25 intersections and then report back to the Senior Citizens Advisory Council, who asked us to look at it. But if
But
you wanna,
nothing, that's what I'm asking, so where are you, so you've just assessed them, you're writing up a report for assessing them, and so then you'll share that report with us?
yes,
Okay.
if that's what you'd like me to do, but it sounds like you're
Well,
looking
if
at
you've
those
already done,
intersections also.
a lot of the work, I'll just add on to that work, I won't start fresh.
Okay, good, so I'll give you what we've done so far,
Okay.
and then you can take it over from there.
Right,
And
and then
then-
we'll get that to the DOT
Yeah.
and let them
all
know
right,
the
good
findings.
collaboration.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then, Dawn, I know that in the
Well, that's
past,
what
there's been DOT
you know,
grants.
The Senior
So,
Citizens
how
Advisory
do-
Council
how-
gave it to us, and
Have a good day, Frank.
and they got all
We're,
these people.
the one that we're working on now is the, Safe Routes to School.
All right, buddy.
Safe Routes to School. When we do the downtown revitalization grants with the lanterns that we were able to purchase with that funding, we get a DOT permit to do that installation, so we can get permission to do certain things downtown. Obviously, if grant funding becomes available for something that you're looking to do, we could apply for that. But at least having an assessment of what needs to be done gives us that, you know, when we see the grant opportunity come through, we can say, oh, well, this would work
Okay.
for that
You're right.
project. So,
Right.
you know, we'll be keeping a lookout for that. And I think, you know, just having those little things at hand and on our report, keep it fresh on our minds.
And all in one place, I think that's
Yeah.
it, because I think it is going to all different committees, and it's kind of getting staggered out, so if we have it all in one place, I think it'll be helpful.
And for like downtown revitalization money too, when we're looking for projects to do, like the Benjamin Place is a great little,
Right.
that could be a nice little
But
project.
that doesn't have to be a project now, because now we.
Yeah, no, but,
Yeah, but that, I mean,
But no, it'll be,
but
no,
it's those kinds of things that come to mind when you're actually
that was a
walking
road,
through,
actually,
because
that went
you're
from Main
seeing
Street to
it,
First
yeah.
Street, and then
Yeah.
when they created the
Yeah,
parking
and
lot,
it's-
it's sort of like, we still got the sign still in the back of the parking lot.
Yeah, and there's some lighting there too, so, and like with downtown revitalization
flooding
funding
problem in
from
our
Suffolk
basement of
County,
the church 'cause
the
it was
improvements
so
have to be on public property, so we have to always keep that in mind. So while there are, you know, some of the alleyways we wanted to light better, but we can't mount any fixtures that we buy on private property, so we have to like.
Well, we have a lamp on, that lights up Benjamin Place.
Yeah,
Church.
no, but I'm just saying that if you wanted to do, for instance, take the decorative lighting that we've put on Main Street and carry that through
Oh,
Benjamin
okay.
Place back towards that lot, and maybe if at some point that lot gets reconfigured, then you take the lighting back to the, you know, into that and just make it consistent throughout, you know, those are the
So you're
kinds
saying
of.
with a comprehensive plan, to address these issues, it makes grant opportunities more
Yeah, I mean,
accessible.
you know, we can look for grants, but if we're not aware of what the needs are, so
Right.
having those needs or projects or ideas or whatever people are looking to get done
And having
you
a
know,
comprehensive plan to
in
address these
mind,
issues
then
probably help with the
when we look
application.
for the funding, then it, you know, we make
Yeah.
those connections.
good idea.
You know, I love the idea that you guys just brought up about, we had talked about it that day, of doing the walkthroughs in other communities, maybe with a couple of the people from their civic. And so we
Yeah.
can see all parts of the community and their needs. And also, as far as this, I thought this was so helpful, having this walkthrough. I really think we ought to do it at least annually.
Annually,
Mhm.
you gotta get down there and walk down there once a month.
At least.
Live on 25
I said at
coming.
least.
Well, that was also one of the things I had met with the bid, and that was one of the things that we had said also is before the Alive on 25, you know, that, because it is, you know, presenting ourselves to the community, and we want people to come back, and we want people to come down there and shop, and, you know, it's an introduction to the community, so that 2 to 3 weeks before the first Alive on 25, we'll do a walkthrough again and see if there's small things that could be addressed. You know, sometimes
Well,
it's just a
especially
matter of,
that,
you know.
that thing in that stake, because after 11:25, you're not gonna be walking straight anyway, you don't wanna fall and hit that thing.
Yep, I mean, we even had the chief moving garbage cans out there
It was,
yesterday.
it was all hands on deck,
Yeah.
it was good, and, I said to my husband, it's like when you know, you look in the mirror, you don't see your wrinkles, cause you look every day, when you drive down Main Street, you don't see those little things that you might see.
You're right.
If you just like,
You're exactly right, you do see differences, but it's, right,
I see
you
the
miss a
big
lot.
wrinkles.
It's like when you have company coming for the holidays, right? Everything, you need to start getting
Yeah.
everything together.
Yep,
So,
alright, good.
All right, thank you very much.
I just got one thing that's not on the agenda, but I just wanna put a plug out there that says people are watching live stream, and on the 27th, which is a Friday, a week and a day from now, I'm trying to get volunteers to come forward to sit on an anti-litter committee. Now, we're gonna probably change the name of that because,
Beautification.
and this isn't about a committee that I wanna go out and give garbage bags to and gloves to. This is about really looking at policies we have in place in Riverhead, maybe looking at legislation of fines, looking at ways that we can educate, maybe putting together and adopt a highway. This is nothing new, this has all been done about 15 years ago and it really never took off. So I think we put some new brains. We got a woman that came to me a couple months ago and she's really wants to help spearhead this. And I wanna put a committee together and reactivate the old committee. And now that there's recycling money that we use for Key Club for Education, there may be a little bit of money that we can maybe look at some signage, maybe some recycling bins, stuff that we can do to make litter a little more accessible. But anyway, so on the 27th at 10 o'clock, if you're around and you wanna stop in.
And then I'll be at Town Hall here in the
Right
boardroom.
here, right here. If you wanna come in and put your 2 cents in and maybe sit on this volunteer committee, and it's, like I said, don't get the idea I'm gonna send you out with gloves and picker-uppers, although that you may have to.
It's not a bad idea.
And
So
if they have questions, do you want them to contact you?
Yes, it's on Facebook. Patrick put it on Facebook for me,
Yeah, I
and
saw it.
Patrick has put the feelers out for anybody who wants to respond on Facebook. They could certainly call me. I'm going on vacation, I'll be
They
back.
can call to my
But
office
they
then,
can
and
call-
and we'll
you can call the
refer them over.
supervisor or the town board coordinator and just show up that morning. It'd be nice to have a few heads get together and discuss all the issues and how we can address them.
What a great idea.
And you
What a great
checked
idea.
the board,
I like
Jim,
it.
right, to make sure there were no other activities on for the 27th?
Yes.
Because I think the traffic safety, alternative transportation committee,
Really?
yeah.
Well, it's gonna be a nice day that day. They should be riding their bicycles
I'll
out there.
check the board.
Well, we can always do the back room over.
We
That's
can
all
use the
good.
back room, we can use that board. I can use that board.
Yeah,
I
okay.
don't expect
Thank you for
300
figuring
people. I expect maybe 8 or 9. We could probably meet.
Okay.
All right.
I hope there's 300
Let's
people.
get our town cleaned up.
Anybody else?
No, that's it.
All right,
Thank
no,
you.
so then can I have a first and second to go into executive session for a personnel matter, matters leading to the temporary hiring of an employee, and a contractual matter for Channel 22?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried.